Well, welcome everyone, and thanks for joining us today for finding out more about from planning to execution and how to go from planning a marketing campaign to full execution. This is a half-hour webinar, so we'll run through at quite a pace, and then I'll end the recording before I take any questions. So if you do think of anything along the way, just drop it in the chat though. Thank you. So just to introduce myself, so I've been in marketing, it says that over 25 years, but I've soon come to realise that it is closer to 30 years now, working for two FTSE 100 companies before starting my own business. And I've been in business now running for over 4 years and working with small, medium businesses and bringing all that learning that I generated through my 30 years of marketing into smaller businesses. So one of the biggest challenges businesses face isn't necessarily creating marketing plans. It's actually putting them into action and being consistent and effective with their marketing. Many businesses have great ideas, detailed plans, and ambitious goals. But somewhere between planning and launch, their campaigns can lose momentum or become overwhelming. Today, we're going to simplify that process and show you how to move from planning to execution with confidence. By the end of this session, you'll have a practical framework you can use to organise, launch, and measure your next campaign. So what we're going to cover today, this is a design, This is designed to be highly practical. We're not focusing on complex marketing theory today. Instead, we're going to look at the process successful businesses use to take an idea and turn it into a campaign that generates real results. We'll finish with a live campaign example so you can see how everything slots together. So why do campaigns fail? So when campaigns underperform, it's generally because it's rarely because businesses aren't working hard enough. More often than not, it's because there isn't enough focus. Because most business owners, if you're in a small business, you're wearing a variety of hats. So you don't always have the focus that you need to put into a marketing campaign. And particularly if you're working in a small business or you own a small business, you often try to be everywhere, target everyone, and achieve multiple objectives simultaneously. The most effective campaigns usually have one primary goal, one clear audience, a consistent message, a simple execution plan, and the simpler the campaign structure, the easier it becomes to execute effectively. So we'll start with one clear goal. So before creating content, choosing channels or designing graphics, you need clarity on the outcome. Marketing activities should support business objectives. If your goal isn't clear, it's impossible to measure success accurately. A useful question to ask is, if this campaign succeeds, what specifically will happen? So what do we want to get out of this campaign that we're driving? Do we want to generate new inquiries, increase web traffic, sell 50 event tickets, or grow email subscribers? So the answer of what you want to happen if your campaign succeeds becomes your objective. Then you also need to know your audience. Many businesses choose channels based on what's popular rather than where their audience actually is. And your audience should always drive your marketing decisions. So think about when you're doing this in terms of knowing who they are. Most marketers will have a persona or an avatar that they work with. But if you haven't got one of those, and it's always useful if you have to update and sense check, but think about what are your audience's challenges? What are their current priorities? How are they behaving? And what are their preferred platforms? Like, so if we take today, for example, if you are in the UK and you're in the South, it's pretty hot. My office thermostat is running at 31 degrees right now. And I've just had to shut the window because somebody's making some noise outside. So, yeah, think about their behavior. So, when it's hot, people are going to feel in a different way to when it's cold. Different things will influence them. And the better you understand your audience, the easier it becomes to create messages that resonate, but also think audience first, then channels, then where are they? So, how do you choose the right channels? So, on the screen, you'll see there's a variety of channels and campaign, what's the word I'm looking for? Campaign timelines or processes. So, this is where, sorry, you don't need to be everywhere. Most small, medium-sized businesses achieve better results when doing fewer channels rather than spreading their resources too thinly. So again, make sure you're asking where your audience is. What content works best on that channel? Because what might work best on TikTok might not replicate across across LinkedIn, for example. Or if you create social media content, will that work for PR? And then what resources do you realistically have to build that content and create that content? When you're moving through awareness, consideration, conversion phases, and you're pulling people through your funnel, you need to make sure that you're targeting them with the right activity at the right time. So awareness is just them finding out more about you, whereas consideration, you're moving way more into trying to give them more information through detailed content, case studies, testimonials, email marketing, all working to convert them through either landing page, direct sales activity, or signing up for events that you might be running or selling tickets for. So again, here, focus on quality over quantity, and always think less is more, even though you have to be out, particularly around social in the awareness phases, you'll be doing way more to get over the line, get the customer over the line than you might have to do during consideration or conversion, because hopefully by the time they've got to conversion, they are already heart and minds in that you are the right service provider, it is the right product for them. So then when we create our campaign timeline, this is where your planning starts to become an execution. So large campaigns become much less overwhelming when they're broken down into stages as shown on the screen. And for each stage, what you want to identify is what are the tasks, what are the deadlines, who are the owners of that task, so who's going to actually do the work. And you might find, as is the case in most small businesses, that it actually is yourself. And what are your dependencies on getting that done, or your business's dependencies? So what does somebody need to do before you can do the next action? And even a simple spreadsheet or project management tool can dramatically improve campaign delivery. So by putting it through in a project and marking each of those tasks out with the deadlines and the owners and dependencies that everybody has visibility of, then you can make sure that it's running on track. You can see where it's falling behind, and you can see where you might need to step in, or if something isn't coming through as quickly as you thought, where you might need to intervene. But it's always important to assign responsibilities and deadlines, because if you don't have deadlines, then your campaign won't hit your start date. So in terms of building your content plan, um, as most marketers know, and some smaller business owners do if they've done quite a lot of marketing, a campaign isn't usually one piece of content. It will be a series of touch points that guide someone towards action. So think about your content and how your content supports your customer journey. So what phases of the customer journey might they be in, and what content will drive them through that? So where we had awareness, consideration, action phases, what is the best content to drive them at that stage? So, and think about, when you think about your audience and who they are and what they're up against, what will they need to see before they're ready to take that action? So it might be they see a few they see some social media posts and they engage with those, or fill in maybe a lead form. You get their contact details. You can then send them email campaigns or video content. You might write blogs that you post out on social to just give people more information about you, and then driving back to landing pages, or your website if you've got sign up forms or whatever you have on there. Customer stories always work well. People like to see a customer story. They like to see that you've helped solve a problem. They also like to know that they're not on their own, that they're not the only person that has that problem, that other people are out there with the same concern or thing they're trying to solve. And remember, when it comes to building your content, particularly with the AI and GEO, generative engine optimization now through AI search engines or search models, consistency is what will build your momentum, because that's how the large language learning models work, around consistency. So it's also important when you are creating your campaign that you make sure you set meaningful KPIs. So many businesses focus on more vanity metrics, like likes and impressions can be useful indicators, but they don't always reflect the business impact. So the best thing to do is to work backwards from your objective. And if your goal is to generate inquiries, then the number of leads you generate becomes your most important KPI. And whether that's, I mean, you could look at how that works across a variety. So don't just look at leads, look at how it's traveling through your website, look at if you're getting engagement in terms of comments and reshares on your social media posts rather than likes and impressions, because that shows you people are more engaged with what you're saying and what you're posting out. And every campaign metric should answer one question, and that is, are we moving closer to our objective? So it's also important that your KPIs link back to the business goal. So if the business has a goal of a 10% increase in revenue, it's important that those KPIs from a marketing perspective help to demonstrate how you're working and supporting to connect the KPIs to the business goals. Monitor and optimize. So one of the advantages of modern marketing is that we don't have to wait until the campaign ends to learn what's going on. And as when I started in marketing, that's what we had to do. We had to wait till the end of the campaign, and then we would look at it and see what worked, what didn't work. Now with digital marketing and the access we have to analytics, you can track your campaign as you go through. So you can review your data regularly, whether you decide that's weekly, depending how long your campaign's running for, or if you have time, capacity, and maybe a team, daily. You can then make small adjustments which will significantly improve your results. And small adjustments might mean just slightly changing your messaging, refining your target, adjusting budget. So if you're doing paid for social or paid ads, you might want to keep tweaking your budget on a daily basis as to what's happening and how things are performing. And you might also want to test a new creative and do A/B testing as well to help you knuckle down which is your best messaging and visuals to go with. Successful campaigns evolve throughout their life cycle, and marketing is an investment and it is an ongoing process, and it's not a one-time event. So it is about that continuation of marketing and being consistent throughout. So we're just going to walk through a live campaign now so you can kind of see how it comes together with a practical example. So the first one, let's create a goal. So we want to generate registrations for a free webinar, and our objective is to get 50 webinar registrations. Our second step is to identify our audience. And our audience are small, medium business owners who are the decision maker. Because often as you get up into more medium businesses, the decision maker changes from the owner or founder of that business. Our third step is then to choose our channels. So for this particular audience, we know that our best channels are LinkedIn, email marketing, and a website landing page. Now, that doesn't need to be a completely different page outside of your website. It could just be a page within your site that you link them through to give you information. And whether that's then they can download a white paper or whatever you want them to do, then that's what you need to think about. Step 4 is missing and should be creating supporting content. So registration page, social post, email invitations, and reminder emails. And then step 5 is tracking your registrations and optimizing weekly. So notice how every activity links directly back to the campaign objective. And that's what creates clarity and effectiveness. So the registrations and the landing page conversion rate and email click-through rate will all help generate your registrations for a free webinar and check that you are hitting that 50 number that you've put in the objective. So key takeaways from this is, remember that marketing success isn't about doing more, it's about doing the right things consistently. The businesses that see the best results are usually ones with clear goals, simple plans, and disciplined execution. And I also think, remember the 6 things on the screen, as in start with one clear objective, focus on who your audience is and what they are and who they are, choose the right channels, build a realistic timeline. So don't say you're going to drive this whole campaign in a week if you're the only person doing it and you're running the whole business, because it's not realistic, the amount of work that will be involved. Measure what matters to meet your objective and optimize your campaign as you go. So I hope this webinar has given you a practical framework you can start to apply immediately. As it is a recording, I do share the recording on my YouTube page, so I will send a link out to all the attendees with that, so you can always come back to it and check it, like if there's any slides that you wanted to revisit. If you'd like support developing or delivering your next marketing campaign, we'd love to continue the conversation. So I do offer a 60-minute free consultancy on marketing, planning and campaigns, and you can book that in via my Calendly page, which I will also send out on an email after. So just to say thank you for joining today. Next month's webinar is on human first marketing in the age of AI and is available to book on either my website or Eventbrite, and I hope to see you there. I'll now stop the recording before moving into any questions. Thank you.